Imagine painting your face white with toxic lead paint just to be considered beautiful. Sounds crazy, right? But in 18th century Europe, especially among the aristocrats, this was the height of fashion and beauty. Let's dive into the wild world of historical beauty standards that might shock you. Back then, pale skin was the ultimate status symbol because it meant you didn't have to work outside under the sun. So, to achieve that ghostly porcelain look, people slathered their faces with white lead-based makeup called ceruse. It was toxic and caused skin damage, but no one cared because beauty was everything. Along with the white face, aristocrats used bright red rouge on their cheeks and lips, contrasting sharply with the pale skin. And those beauty marks you see in portraits weren't natural either. Small pieces of black velvet or silk called patches were glued onto the face to cover blemishes or just to add a flirtatious charm. These patches had names like the lover's spot or the passion mark, depending on their placement. Hair was another fashion statement, as men and women wore towering powdered wigs, sometimes stacked feet high, dusted with white powder made from starch, and sometimes even scented with lavender. These wigs were so heavy and elaborate, they needed assistants to help put them on. But it wasn't just Europe. In ancient Japan, during the Heian period, aristocratic women shaved their eyebrows and painted new ones higher on the forehead to fit the ideal of beauty. They also blackened their teeth in a practice called ohaguro to signal maturity and attractiveness. Meanwhile, in the Victorian era, women used tight corsets that squeezed their waists painfully small to fit the hourglass figure ideal. Some corsets were so tight they caused fainting or even broken ribs. It's wild how far people went to match beauty standards. These practices show how beauty has always been tied to social status and cultural values, even when that meant risking health or comfort. So next time you think your beauty routine is tough, remember the powdered wigs, toxic white paint, and waist-crushing corsets of the past. What do you think future generations will find strange about our beauty trends today? But let's not stop there. Beauty standards have been evolving and shifting across different cultures and eras, often reflecting societal values, technology, and even politics. For example, during the Renaissance period in Europe, a high forehead was considered very attractive. Women would pluck or shave their hairlines to make their foreheads appear larger, and this was seen as a sign of intelligence and nobility. In contrast, in some African cultures, scarification, the deliberate scarring of the skin, was a common beauty practice. These scars were not only decorative, but also conveyed social status, tribal affiliations, and rites of passage. The Kayan women of Myanmar are famous for their neck rings, which create the appearance of elongated necks. Starting from a young age, they wear brass coils around their necks, gradually adding more over time. The coils push down the collarbone and ribs to give the illusion of a longer neck, which is considered a symbol of beauty and elegance in their culture. Moving back in history, ancient Egyptians prized clear, smooth skin and used a variety of natural ingredients as cosmetics. They applied green malachite and black coal around their eyes, not just for beauty, but to protect their eyes from the sun and infections. Cleopatra, one of history's most famous beauties, was known to use honey and milk baths to keep her skin soft and radiant. Meanwhile, in the 1920s, the flapper era introduced a radically different ideal. Women cut their hair into stylish bobs, darkened their eyes with kohl, and painted their lips in bold colors like deep reds and plums. This was a period of liberation and rebellion against traditional norms, and beauty was a big part of that social transformation. In many indigenous cultures around the world, natural beauty and connection to the land were emphasized. Facial tattoos, body paint, and adornments like feathers or shells played important roles in ceremonies and everyday life. These practices were deeply symbolic, and tied to identity rather than conforming to any external standard imposed by society. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and the beauty industry exploded with the rise of Hollywood glamour. Actresses like Marilyn Monroe set new standards with their curves, platinum blonde hair, and red lips. The ideal became more accessible, yet still highly curated and commercialized. At the same time, different subcultures emerged to challenge mainstream beauty norms. The punk movement of the 1970s, for example, embraced unconventional hairstyles, piercings, and makeup to express individuality and resistance. Today, beauty standards are more diverse than ever, thanks in part to globalization and the internet. Yet, paradoxically, they can still be incredibly restrictive and demanding. Social media platforms flood us with images of flawless skin, perfect bodies, and exotic lifestyles, often edited or filtered beyond reality. Procedures like cosmetic surgery, Botox, and other enhancements are increasingly common, reflecting a modern twist on the age-old desire to alter one's appearance to fit an ideal. Moreover, modern beauty standards are deeply intertwined with consumer culture. From skincare routines involving dozens of products to fashion brands promoting certain body types, the quest for beauty can sometimes feel like an endless cycle of consumption. However, there is also a growing movement towards embracing natural beauty, self-acceptance, and challenging unrealistic ideals. Campaigns promoting body positivity and diversity are gaining momentum, encouraging people to celebrate all shapes, sizes, and skin tones. It's fascinating to see how beauty standards not only shape personal choices, but also influence economies, politics, and social structures. In some societies, having a certain look can affect your career opportunities, social mobility, or even how you are treated by others. This power dynamic underscores why people have historically, and continue to, go to great lengths to conform to these ideals. Looking back, the lengths people went to for beauty often involved significant discomfort, health risks, or even danger. Lead-based makeup caused poisoning and skin damage. Tight corsets restricted breathing and damaged internal organs. Foot binding in ancient China painfully reshaped women's feet to fit a tiny standard of beauty. These examples show the extreme sacrifices made in the pursuit of societal acceptance and admiration. So, what does this mean for us today? While our beauty practices may seem less extreme on the surface, the psychological and social pressures remain strong. The desire to look a certain way is deeply human, but it's important to remember that beauty is subjective and culturally constructed. What is considered beautiful in one era or culture may be seen as strange or even repulsive in another. As technology advances, the future of beauty could take even stranger turns. Imagine a world where genetic editing allows people to customize their appearance before birth, or where virtual reality lets us change how we look at will. Maybe future generations will look back at our obsession with tanning, cosmetic procedures, or even social media filters with the same bewilderment we feel about powdered wigs and toxic paint. In the end, beauty is more than skin deep. It reflects our history, culture, values, and even our hopes and fears. By understanding the past, we can better appreciate the diversity of beauty today, and perhaps move towards a future where everyone feels valued just as they are. So next time you look in the mirror or scroll through your feed, remember the stories behind those faces and the ever-changing nature of what it means to be beautiful.